All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Minecraft Make Code meets Mark Watney and Mars colonization. I am recording this with some audio to share, and all the slides for today you can access either by using this shortened link, which you'll see in the bottom right corner of all my slides. It's just wfryer.me/Mars. You can scan that QR code if you want a really large version of it. That's it. And I have that on a Google site as a middle school teacher that I keep. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the link that has the slides. So this is the page for, we're all going there at the same time. So just like class, it may slow down a little bit. It says Space 2024 Presentation Resources. This is my slide deck that's embedded. You can click the link here to go to the Google Slides that I'll be sharing that have hyperlinks in them. And then I have some direct links that I'll be talking about to the Padlet with all our animation projects and screencasts, my whole Canvas course that you can download and import any of these and copy any of these you want, all the Minecraft worlds that we created today, this last year. And so, yeah, I hope that you'll take advantage of that. So, this was my 28th year in education. I've done a lot of things. I started life as an elementary fourth grade teacher in Lubbock, Texas in 1996. And I love aerospace and I love space. And I got to go to undergraduate pilot training at Reese Air Force Base in 1994. I only finished 52 hours, which was the contact phase. But I have continued my passion and love for space and for service. I'm wearing my Space Force shirt today because we have a daughter at the Air Force Academy who wants to be in Space Force. She's actually at iFly today in the second day of ground training for parachute training, and she's going to get to jump out of an airplane, perfectly good airplane, 5 times this week or next week. So how many of you have seen Bring Him Home, The Martian, Matt Damon in the movie? Okay, yes. Okay, not all. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th graders right now in Charlotte, North Carolina, and not all of them have seen it. Plus, it is PG-13 because there's a shot of Matt, kind of from the back where he was, having a wardrobe malfunction. And so, anyway, I always try to only recommend G and PG movies, but this is an exception. I just kind of warn the kids. I'm really not calling this presentation colonization anymore. And this was accepted before I could change that because, boy, we really screwed up as a human society a lot of things with colonization. And there's just so much baggage with that. And so I think of this as a Mars outpost now. And one of the things that I want to share is just how multidisciplinary this inquiry is, because I'm using this unit inside my Introduction to Coding middle school class. And so we could call this some different things: Coding Mars, Minecraft Mars. For me to get a little more of a sense of who's in the room, how many of you teach middle school? You're middle school teachers now. We will be. Will be? Okay. Anybody a high school teacher? Anybody an elementary teacher? Anybody a librarian or a multi-level person or administrator?
Been teaching
okay. All right. Yep. Okay, so we have a lot of different folks in the room, which is awesome. That's interesting. Let's try this again. Here's kind of a summary. Icon is a company in Austin, Texas, which is 3D printing buildings, and they have a contract with NASA to do this on the moon as part of the Artemis project and to do this on Mars. So this video, which shows the first simulated Mars surface habitat for NASA, is basically kind of a summary of what we're trying to do in the virtual world of Minecraft. So at South by Southwest this last year, Icon had an amazing presentation. If I was to summarize this presentation today and kind of the focus of how this has evolved over the last 2 semesters, I wanted to enable and empower my middle school students to use code. In this case, it's called Make Code. It's like Lego bricks that you snap together. It's free from Microsoft, but Minecraft you got to pay $5 a kid for. But Make Code is free to create these kinds of habitats, to replicate these kinds of 3D printing techniques, because we're really doing this. We're really going back to the moon, and we're going to Mars, and we're using robot technology and coding to do all kinds of things. Now, I shared this presentation in March at our North Carolina State Educational Technology Conference, and I've got some differences in this presentation, and one of them is this, that if I was to give you a thesis, can you tell I've spent a lot of time in school? I really think this project, which again is completely open for you to please copy, modify, do anything you would be inspired to do yourself or with teachers you know, to develop what are called computational thinking skills. I'm a big fan of Mitch Resnick from the MIT Lifelong Kindergarten Group that developed Scratch, if you've ever heard of Scratch coding. I'm a big fan of Seymour Papert, who's kind of the father of educational technology. He's the one with, Logo and Turtle robots way back in the day for folks who are old or who've read their ancient history of educational technology. That ability to think computationally, to be able to think spatially and logically, and we won't do this today, but it's fun to just have someone be our turtle or our robot and say, Shelly, who's my wife here in the front, can you give directions to our robot to be able to move from the door over here in front of the telescopes and not touch any of the walls or whatever? We can do this without code, we can do it with code. But developing those skills alongside incredibly rich content about space exploration, historical as well as contemporary, in a multidisciplinary unit that can be transformative, I believe, for student learning and career orientation, where kids are going to go. So I teach at Providence Day School. I have not been a private school educator my entire career. I've been a public school educator most of my career. I'm actually a recovering director of technology because I was a tech director for 3 years in Oklahoma City, and then my head of school let me go back in the classroom for middle school. So the last 5 years, I've been teaching middle school, and we have a reorganized computer science department called IDEAS, and that stands for Innovation, Design, Entrepreneurship, Analytics, and Sustainability. It is an aspirational department in terms of we're still developing our courses in analytics. We have courses in entrepreneurship and these other areas. But one of the things I love is the chance for us to bring together multiple disciplines. So we are not in this STEM course only focused on coding. We are also communicators of stories and exciting history and also sad history. All kinds of things happen in history. But we want to learn about that, communicate about that, but we're problem solvers, and so we want to be operating in multiple domains. So my course is not required. Kids have to sign up for it. And so one of the things I did this last year for the rising 5th graders that my wife teaches in our lower school is I made a little video, and they had all these videos for the courses that kids could watch. So this is my short little video about what we're trying to do in our computer programming class.
Welcome to an extraordinary journey into the world of computer programming, designed especially for middle school students. Our Providence Day computer programming course is hands-on, an immersive experience that transforms students into creative problem solvers and critical thinkers. We kick off our adventure with Scratch, a block-based programming language from MIT, where students bring their ideas to life, creating animations, interactive narratives, and games. They'll explore loops, events, and variables, making learning not just educational, but incredibly fun. The journey continues in the world of Minecraft education with MakeCode by Microsoft. Students will code their own robot, build structures on virtual moons and Mars, and tackle challenges in collaborative teams. Imagine coding a habitat on Mars or a maze game that tests not only your own coding skills, but your strategy. Our course is designed for every student to succeed, whether you're just starting or have some experience. With a focus on individual learning styles, we ensure that every student finds their path, supported by a curriculum that meets them right where they are. For those new to computer applications, we recommend our computer applications course as a foundation, preparing you for the exciting challenges in computer programming. Our culminating projects are not just assignments, they're a showcase of creativity and innovation. Students work on animations related to space exploration and even build virtual habitats using coding as a tool to build the future. Ready to embark on this coding adventure? Join us in the computer programming course and unlock the door to creativity, problem solving, and the endless possibilities that coding offers. Because here, the future of coding is not just learned, it's built by you. Discover, code, create. Your journey starts now.
Yay! So I'm fired up. I get to teach that several times this year. For those of you that might have come in late, you can, and I'll put this QR code up again, go to the shortened link wfryer.me/Mars. If you'd like to connect with me, you can go to my website, westfryer.com/after. I did quit using Twitter in November. Now it's more confusing than ever, but I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and some other places as well. This is what I'd like to share today as an outline, kind of a quick backstory of how I got here and my wife and I got here, literally, here from North Carolina at this conference. But then I want to give you specific insight into what my students have created, what we did last year, and some ideas about what we're going to do next year. But this is a face-to-face event. Yay! We're not even wearing masks. Yay! So let me give you a chance to introduce yourself to the person beside you. Why are you here? What are you interested in? Has anything I've shared so far piqued your interest? Let me give you a minute or two. Go, meet somebody. Okay. Anybody learn anything cool? My tribe is here. You are my tribe. So if I talk to any of you, I'm going to probably learn something cool about something you're doing and you're interested in. Kari is in the back row from Virginia, and she has seen some things with Minecraft. Was it the mayor of Atlanta, you said, that introduced it? How many of you have some Minecraft experience, either watching your own kids? Who's played it? Who has played Minecraft? Anybody? Okay, awesome. Our son, our son who is now going to be 27 this year, maybe? Yeah, he works at Johnson Space Center, supporting ISS as a robotic engineer. He was the one when he was in high school that loved Minecraft, And I had a teacher friend that had a coding club in his middle school, and he said, you should really play Minecraft with your son. Okay, and my goodness, it just opened up a lot. That's part of the backstory. So, I guess I left this in here. If you're interested, this is in the slides. I created a Padlet. This was actually for March for just feedback and questions. Do you all ever miss email? Does that happen to anybody else in this world? Yeah. Okay, so there's just different ways. So if you want to do that, I'm going to show you Padlet. It's like sticky notes, and you can leave some feedback or questions or ideas. But let's talk a little backstory. So 2019, Robert Downey Jr. hosted a fantastic series on YouTube, which you can still access, called The Age of AI. What do kids know Robert Downey Jr. primarily for? What role? Iron Man, of course. And so this is like maybe 7 different parts. It's called The Space Architects of Mars. And I got to tell you, it was a little bit weird these last year or so, as we saw generative AI and ChatGPT and these things really explode into the mainstream, because I had been showing my students elements of this, telling them the artificial intelligence technologies which are being developed today. This one, Space Architects of Mars, is all about how they, in 2019, were using AI to design optimal habitats for Mars, and then how they were going to be able to 3D print them. I said, this is going to change so much. We really have to, I think, watch this, but embrace the skills that we're going to need to be able to work in the future and work today with these technologies. So I still like to show that to my kids, even though that's about, 4 years old. Had an opportunity to lead several virtual Minecraft camps. You know, there were good things about the pandemic, believe it or not, or bad things. One good thing was our son moved home after he graduated from college for a year. You know, he worked in his windowless bedroom for, a year, and thankfully, I don't think fell into a depression. There was a lot of tough stuff there. He had 4 computers to work on, and but he had his gaming computer. But we did Minecraft as a virtual camp, and I was able to enlist the help of high schoolers, thanks to our youngest daughter, who's going to be 21 this summer. And we did it for elementary and middle school. I don't know what the best analogy for Minecraft is, but it's like learning in a really good way, kind of like you're on crack or something. I mean, if you've heard of this the psychological condition of flow, I can't pronounce, check his name, right. But flow is when you lose track, right? You're reading a book and you're so into it that, oh my gosh, an hour just passed. Students, kids, even adults will frequently have that happen in Minecraft. And so my wife and I were able to attend the SEEK conference back in 2022 at Johnson Space Center. Has anyone been to SEEK in Houston? Really phenomenal. This is, I think, very similar to it. I think theirs is a bit larger, or maybe it was that year, but different panel presentations, meeting astronauts, being inspired, learning about resources, and then taking those resources back to our school to share with students. And so that year, I went ahead and set up a little Google site for just space resources, which is off of my main website. It's just space.westfriar.com. And I know I'm going to add to that from resources that we've already learned today from Barbara Jordan and others. This is our daughter, Rachel. So that's fortunately we lost, but it was the Air Force Army football game in Denver this past year, and their uniform of the day was their flight suit. And then spring break, she came home and she came and talked to my kids. It was actually my coding class that she was talking to about, taking a coding class. And also as a female, how challenging that was, because there was only one other girl in her class and she almost quit. And mom and dad said, give it a try. Yeah, mom said no. Give it a try, hun. And make friends. And she did, and she enjoyed it. And, took Python in high school, and she had a coding class as a freshman at the Air Force Academy as well. Something else I love to do with my kids is share Wonderlinks.
50 years ago, we pioneered a path to the moon. The trail we blazed cut through the fictions of science and showed us all what was possible.
And we've already, that opening video that they showed us today was just fantastic. Wonderlinks for me is a way, not always, but a way for a lot of classes that we can just start with a video, sometimes with a picture, sometimes a news article, and really open up our mind to wonder and creativity. I loved what Barbara Jordan said, and I wrote this down. She said, "This is space education, exploration, discovery, curiosity, and wonder." And you never know what kind of a difference you're going to make saying words to another human being, okay? Showing something, sharing something. Let's see if this still works. You can, if you put a space between it, this worked all last year, you can simply Google Wonder Links. That's cool. And even though Google shows us some different things, depending on who what we've looked for, whatever, what our footprint is. These are my Wonder Links. So this is just a Google site, a page, and these are links for my different classes. I color code them. And so, sometimes we'll do one, sometimes we'll do several. But there's just a whole lot. And if we search for NASA, here's where NASA's going to build the first Mars colony. This was a video by a YouTuber called The Space Race. Have you asked your students to share with you some of their favorite YouTubers or the things that they watch? You have to be careful because, I'm not going to show, I'm always going to preview stuff before I show it in front of the kids. It's very important to do. But it really is incredible how our wonder and our senses of curiosity can be expanded, talking about space, the planet, all kinds of things. And so that's part of the backstory here, is my own sense of wonder and curiosity is always inspired when I have chances to come to events like this. But this really, if you're going to watch any video in its entirety that I'm sharing with you, it's this one. Have you seen the 60 Minutes episode about Icon? Let me this is 22 minutes. I'll just play a little bit.
It starts with this 1.5-ton sack of dry concrete powder, which gets mixed with water, sand, and additives, and is then pumped to the robotic printer.
Now you are looking at how we control the bead size.
Connor Jenkins, Icon's manager of construction here, explained that the printer completes one layer called a bead every 30 minutes, by which time it's hardened enough to be ready for the next bead. Steel is added every 10th layer for strength.
The amount of change you're making is
tiny.
It takes about 2 weeks to print the full 160 bead house. Jenkins gave me the controls, an iPad.
So look, Leslie, that's a little skinny. Will you press the +1 real quick? Done. You just increase the bead size incrementally.
Okay, so how many of you have 3D printers at school? Yes.
Well, I was going to say, I think we have a house that has been printed that way in Melbourne.
Really?
Right here down the road. There was an article about it in the
I would love to see that. And if I was in a different part of my life today and I wasn't 53, I might try to start a franchise in North Carolina, because we've got a huge affordable housing crisis, and the founder of Icon was actually going to go become an Episcopal priest, but he went on a mission trip to a hurricane or tornado ravaged, it was like a disaster area, saw the need for housing, and then investigated all this, and whoever the Bishop of Texas is, and his quote is in here, was like, if you want to go to the priesthood, that'll be good. That'll be here. But why don't you go see if this works? Because you might be able to do a lot of real good with this. And so anyway, they had a really big presentation at South by Southwest in Austin this year. And it's something pretty exciting. And again, the connection here is 3D printers, right? An extruder, being able to design a structure with code that you think, oh, this is what I want to make. Now, our kids have a chance at lunch to come into our maker space and 3D print things, and there's laser cutters. And yes, sometimes the kids want to go on a website called Thingiverse. You heard of that? And download, here, a Star Wars character or the Millennium Falcon or whatever, and just print it. But being able to design and create or remix and make all of those things are really, really good for developing that computational thinking. And so we have these actual 3D printing activities that are happening, and so we can basically take that into the world of Minecraft. So this last fall semester at the end of the semester, our communications department got wind of what we were up to and asked if they could do a little video showcasing what we were doing so far in the fall. And so I think this is about 2 minutes, and this is just a little bit of a summary talking about this project and what we're doing with Minecraft. All right, let's do this by team. Let's start at the top. I'm teaching our middle school coding class this year, and we are learning a variety of different algorithms and a variety of different techniques for creating code to do different things. Minecraft Education has a whole coding language developed by Microsoft called Microsoft Make Code, and it allows us to basically do anything in Minecraft that a player would do on their own by hand with code. And so because NASA is going to the moon and planning to go to Mars, I decided, why don't we do a project where we simulate a colony on Mars, except we're going to build it with code. We're using the block-based, what's called Microsoft Make Code. It's like Lego bricks. So you have a whole selection of different bricks, and you've got, categories of blocks: basic, player, agent, movement, loops, logic, variables, all these colored categories, and then you drag those out and put them in order and then can execute that command. It represents something I've seen in Scratch, which is a low bar and a high ceiling. The students don't have to have prior experience coding or even with Minecraft in order to do this. And they can pretty quickly do some things like, build a tower, or, we're mining. They can do that sort of thing, but then they can get into things that are a lot more advanced. So everyone can be successful and can accomplish tasks, but there's this high ceiling where it's like, oh, you've got that done, well, how about this? And there's a bigger challenge, and it really does offer just a wide world of opportunity. We are doing a lot of things at school, but one of the most important things we're doing is we are trying to help kids understand how they can be empowered to solve problems and design solutions and collaborate with others to accomplish goals. That's broad and big, and it gets very specific in different courses. But I think it's important because we are striving to integrate a lot of skills together. One of the things we're really striving to do in Ideas is to integrate the math skills with the science and the engineering and the design in concrete projects that students can have success in. And I'm so thankful for PD, for our Parents Association, and the support we have from our administration to be able to have this kind of a space physically, but also, in terms of ideas, being able to put those things together and help kids. Those skills are going to serve them well in the future. Yay. Okay. So, here's where we were last year. Fall, 13 kids. I had 2 girls, 11 boys. Word got out, we're doing Minecraft, we're doing stuff on Mars, we're making animations, we're building stuff, and I told my girls, hey, tell your friends. And so we had 4 girls. We doubled, right? That's exponential growth. So last year I had 1 section in each semester. We had so many kids sign up this year that I've got 3 sections. Actually, that's not right. That'll just be in 2024. So in fall and spring. So anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure what that breakdown will be. But, getting more kids involved in STEM, in coding, and then specifically, I'm very passionate, having 2 daughters myself, and just also seeing the disparities that we have with representation at multiple levels, not just with gender. I really think we need to be explicitly encouraging and sharing with young women, this is a space for you. This is a space for everybody. So, how are we doing on time? We've got, we have until 35 after, is that right? All right, let's do some talk time. I will share you some specific lessons, but there's the backstory. There's a little bit. What piques your interest? What questions do you have? So talk with your neighbor. We'll do a turn, pair, and share. Any questions that you have so far about what we've talked about? What are you thinking? And then I'll field a couple of those, and then we'll jump into some of the specific lessons. together of some screencasts that my kids created. One of the most important things I'd love for you to take away from this is helping our kids record their screen, being able to share that, and being able to also share their code is really, really helpful. And so I've given you links, and I'll open them up to the Padlet, which is like a sticky note board, where my kids recorded their screen. So in this case, I'm not sure who this is. You'll see their names sometimes here pop up as they do this. They're showing in some cases I've had them talk over these, give code talks, explain your code, show me your code, show it running. I don't want to do this for 10 minutes, like 2 minutes, okay? But part of it, isn't it going to be even more challenging today with AI to assess? How do I know that you wrote that code? Right? I've already written JavaScript codes for things I could never have done by myself. It's amazing, okay? So that is probably a number one takeaway, is that having students recording short little screencasts with what their code does and their actual code and then explaining it, yay. That is a winning strategy for assessment. And I will admit to you, this as teachers, I did not listen to every single second of every single student. I have 21 students and they were all, but I was listening to them, spot checking them, and I was also able to find some remarkable creativity. And I love to do that in class, right? Amplify. We have that quiet student in the back who wouldn't have stood up and said this, but oh my gosh, I need to show you all what Ava did. Ava, can you tell us a little bit about what you did? So, questions. Were there some thoughts that your neighbor shared or you shared? It was just a question or yes?
So I use Minecraft educational in my classroom.
Yes.
We use it with several. So our technology high school students, they code and all kinds of stuff all the time, and they come to our school and they will build Minecraft worlds for us that the kids have to do tasks in.
Okay.
I'm not as familiar with the make code or how to build with the codes versus just building in Minecraft.
Right.
So I'm interested in how that would change, because we were talking about okay, the kids will teach you way more than you'll ever know.
Right.
Because I just know from my own children and just playing around with it in class, I'll just project it up on the screen and zoom in and fly over what they're doing. I have kids who will build you the most amazing things, and you didn't teach them anything. I didn't teach them a thing. But I have a kid who built an entire town. I was going through it, and I'm like, how did you do this? When did you have time? I'm not talking a little thing. It was an entire town with churches and banks and schools and hospitals.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
It was and he is the most quiet child.
Right. Well, how many of us love Legos or have kids that love Legos? Okay. Minecraft is a lot of things, but one thing it is a virtual environment of unlimited Lego bricks where you can build anything you want and you can fly around and you have superpowers to build anything. So I'm going to go to our website, which is you can go to wfryer.me/Mars. This is that link to our saved worlds. These are all of the Minecraft education worlds that, in a Google Drive, that we basically saved this last year, okay? So the most recent one, these are sorted by date. So the last one that we did was May 21st, final, okay? And Ari, one of my students, saved this for me. And so I just imported it. When you're in Minecraft, and to be clear, $5 a person you have to pay in order to have Minecraft. So that is the cost. Once you download that world, it's a zip file. It's a compressed file. And so when you look at it here, if I double click on this, whoa, what's all this stuff? This is what's contained inside the file. Don't worry about that. All you do is you click the download link and you download the file. You can right click or two-finger tap and just click download. You download it. And so we built day after day on the same world. So I have imported, I did it this morning, this world, and I'll show you where the code comes in, okay? This is one of the final worlds that we built, and my students each needed to create, I found a world that looked Mars-like, of course, and that's where I made the spawn point, and they each had a different habitat that they co-constructed, That's sort of the edge of the world over there, so that's outside of Mars. And then they were using code they had to use code to build the encovering dome over the top, and then they had different structures, and we brainstormed that, and we used AI to brainstorm that, and then they needed to make landing pads that were outside. So, does anybody know what's the magical key for Minecraft coding?
C.
It's the letter C, that's right. So when I press C, boom, it pops up, choose your editor, and so we're going to choose Microsoft Make Code. And so now we can create a new project, but we're also going to have a lot of tutorials. Now, one of the things that's important is to be saving the link to your projects, and that's what, in Scratch, it's a little bit different. Students join the Scratch community, and they have a profile, and you could click their profile, and they share their projects. Here, it's a link, but it's anonymous. Here are the ones we were using: Agent Build, Agent Farm, Agent Fence. There's even one, Agent Wall. There was one that we did that was the dome. So they can go into these either with blocks is what we use. There is Python and JavaScript if you wanted to do that. And they have these tutorials that will walk them through and show them what they need to drag out in order to do this. And so then they can click on this and they can drag out a loop, or they can drag out something for the agent to do where the agent sets a block, and they snap these together. So all of that comes from the letter C. This little icon in the upper right corner next to the house and the gear, that is the share link. It looks like 3 dots. I think it looks like a Pac-Man mouth. And so when you click on that, you have to have a title, but it just gives you a link. And so I have my students now make a Google Doc of their links. And anyone can click a link and view it, import it, edit it, and I can grade it. And so all of that happens. The coding is all accessed through pressing the letter C. They turn their stuff into me by getting that link. Okay? Yes?
So I've had a coding app before. The name escapes me, but it was a Google coding app with a little robot that picks up the gem, and you click see. I don't know the name, but I'm trying to get it.
Okay.
But my question is what if the student makes a mistake? Do they have a chance to run the code and they say, "Oop, this is wrong," or what's the way that they realize it's incorrect and that it was a red thing?
Yeah, 100%. They get to run their code. Let's see if we can do. Okay, here's Emily. This is the link to the Padlet that I gave you. I'm just kind of previewing this a little bit early. This is one of my girls this semester, Emily, who created a landing pad. Here is her. I don't think we did audio for these. There's just music. So she's going to show her structure and her landing pad. If I link to her code, this is the link that she got out of Minecraft. This is a view version of it. I'm going to copy this. I can click edit, and I can edit it here, and I can push play, but it's not in Minecraft on the web. I need to be over in Minecraft in order to import it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home, and I want to import a URL. So import a link. This looks a little different on Windows, but the features are all the same. We have a Windows computer lab. It's our gaming esports lab that we got to be in. Here is her actual project. Now, she created her code so that it's relative to the location of me. Some students will do it with coordinates, which is really great math, okay? Because of the coordinate grid. Coordinates in Minecraft are a little different. The z-axis is not vertical. But anyway, if I go to a location and I type the command glass now, it's going to execute this code. And though she also wrote a code called tower, which is going to build a tower. So let's do that. I'm going to go fly over here, and maybe I'll make it day so we can see it a little bit better. I'll go down on the ground. Of course, my kids would be so much faster than this. And actually, I like having a student a lot of times do demos. I'll make it day. Okay, so it's daytime. I'm going to put in the / command glass. And there's the agent. And look, that agent is now building a glass sphere relative to the location that I was in. And it's going to do the rest of that code. And so they're testing that constantly to see, did it work? Did it do what I'm doing? And they're collaborating, they're talking with each other. It's so interesting teaching coding, right? Because what's cheating? Wait a minute, I just saw Ava's code. Could you copy Ava's code? Well, you could, but I need you to understand how to do that. So sometimes I did have one quiz where I asked them to do something, independently, but that's where the talking about all this comes in, is, being able to talk about their code, show their code, all of that kind of stuff.
Can they edit their code?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They can edit it, they can change it, they can say don't move forward 1 block, move forward 4 blocks. Yeah, but it doesn't save it like we think of saving the same file. It's a link, and that link is kind of a new instance. So each time they save it to the cloud, it's sort of frozen. Then they, grab it, import it. They can edit again, and they save a new version. It'd be a new link. So that's why for this, they're always saving links. But it's really cool for turning it in, because what I want you to do, usually it's turn in your code, and then I'll also have them do some recording.
That's pretty cool, though, too, that it saves. I thought that what happened is that it made a link and you could go in and you could modify stuff. I didn't know it would generate a new link.
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
lets them and you have a record.
Microsoft, I believe, has been very clever. And if you would know me well, I haven't always been a Microsoft fanboy, okay? Kind of an Apple guy. But yeah, hey, let's use great tools, right? And Minecraft's a wonderful tool. When it comes to student privacy and the whole thing about a network and contact and all, I love Scratch, but I have worked in some schools, and our children have attended some schools where Scratch is blocked, because there's this contact and there's this network and all those kind of things. And it's sometimes taken some advocacy to explain this is moderated, this is, we don't want the kids to be out on the recess playground by themselves with no parents, okay? There's supervision here. Microsoft has avoided that with this link technique. And so each link is anonymous. You really have no idea just looking at the link who made it. But you can fully access, edit, change, do whatever you want to with it. And it's also just viewable like that to see the code. Yes, sir?
What happens if they make a mistake in coding? Is there a quick way to delete what the agent did?
That's a great question.
You know what I mean?
I do. Absolutely. Well, so my kids figured out that if they, there's a command that creates the sphere, is what we were just saying a second ago. You can fill it with air instead of glass or another material.
That's what I was thinking.
But
it was all solid glass.
Yeah. Well, and so sometimes I will have my kids working either with a partner in a world that they have. The benefit of me as a teacher sharing it is that I can save it. I can see everybody's work. The downside is anybody could mess stuff up. So did we have mistakes? Oh, yes, we did. Did we have some people make structures that covered into, got into other people's space? One of my most important rules, no TNT. What is that?
Dynamite.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know dynamite's fun. I know that you like to play with that. We're not doing that at school. There's no PvP. That's player versus player. You cannot attack people, okay? And no griefing, okay? We're not going to grief people. So it does pose challenges in terms of I can't quickly erase. I can't go Command-Z, Control-Z, undo. Right. So what that means, but see, don't we learn oftentimes more from the mistake than we do?
So you would have to clear it manually.
So sometimes then we would restart the world. But we weren't always working in the same world. Sometimes they're working in their own. And when we're coming in, I think it's good to do lots of small projects and sort of lower the stakes rather than just one enormous, huge one. So by the time we got into that combined world, we had some mistakes and some experiences, and we knew to be careful, like, okay, that's the radius of your habitat sphere. If you make that 40, your space is only 20 by 20 blocks. So we'd had that happen, teachable moments, and again, it's a saved world. So at the worst, we could go back to last class, because every class, we saved that world. Yes?
So a good way around that is just have them all in their own world.
Absolutely.
Build a code.
Sure.
Oh, they messed up over here. Let's move
100%.
But you assign them coordinates.
Yep.
And then can you just copy the link and then...
or then they bring it in. Then they've all built it in their world. Right. And that was another clever thing. Like you saw Ava's code there. Some of my kids were using absolute coordinates, which totally worked. But it wasn't as flexible as saying, all right, now I want you to build your habitat here. And I'm going to give you this other place. But yes, having them sandbox it in their own world and then come over to the turn-in world or the collaborative world is another great way to do that. And the great thing is, it's like you can save it's good to have a place to save these. And I got the kids enlisted in helping me with this, right? Because I had some very savvy, advanced Minecrafters trying to help them use their powers for good and not for evil, right? And so that was very helpful for them to even give me suggestions and things like that. Okay, we've already taken a look at some of this. I want to mention that Minecraft and Microsoft have some very compelling curriculum built right in. And so when you're in Minecraft, there is a library that you can access. And you can access a lot. And we have dabbled and played in these. And there's amazing, it's inspired some of the builds that we've done. I personally have found students to be far more engaged, and I have been able, I think, to take their computational thinking and their skills further in designed lessons that weren't just sort of canned lessons. But when you're especially getting into this, it's great. Open up the library. Here's the International Space Station. Here's the Minecraft Space Center. This particular lesson is for 8 to 10-year-olds. That can be modified. You can modify them. But I want to mention that because there's a growing number of pre-designed lessons that are right inside Minecraft that we can utilize. Oops. You mentioned your high schoolers will sometimes build stuff. Middle schoolers.
High schoolers build stuff for our middle school.
Exactly.
We have
That's
a
beautiful.
Group and
yes.
They're Minecraft ambassadors. We also have Minecraft ambassadors that come from the elementary school.
Awesome.
When they come to middle school, they are in charge. We have one in every class.
Yes.
So I had 7 kids last year who, when we were building things, like they actually got together and built it was space is what we were doing. And
yeah.
We had certain tasks that each kid had to do in each area.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that can be very positive. Now, let's get real. Okay, middle schoolers, particularly my boys, I gotta watch them, right? And so it's really important to set those expectations. Like I said, we have rules about no griefing, no player versus player, no TNT. We have some club days where students can come and build. We have build challenges. But I think it's wonderful to get the older kids mentoring the younger kids and building with purpose. We had a group last year that started to build our school, build all of our campuses. At my Oklahoma City school where we moved from, our makerspace teacher did a great job. And this is some math. Google Earth coordinates, convert to Minecraft. Here are the locations of our buildings. But our entire campus was then built. We could do anything we wanted to. We did Halloween, mazes, and just all kinds of things. That's how you share the world. And as far as I know, like I would love to do this workshop with you, but if all of you had Minecraft education accounts, you'd be able to do your own thing, but you wouldn't be able to join my world because you'd have to be part of my school. When I was a tech director, we just created 20 accounts that were like student 1 at Cassidy, student 2, and then we could use those in workshops and things. But that's how it's shared, and that join code expires, and that's sort of the magic code that allows everyone to connect. Work with your technology department. This taxes the network. Okay, that's why our esports lab is the best place, because those are the fastest machines and they're hardwired. When we're on laptops like this, it can work, but you definitely want to have a fast computer that's hosting it. And to your point, you don't have to be hosting it. There's real advantages to having kids like start their own world and be able to create their own code. And that's a much simpler thing for you as a teacher too, because you're not the one, you're not, the whole lesson doesn't hinge on this one laptop being fast and not crashing. Which is generally, it's been okay. Kids' tolerance for lag, is could be a little severe. Like, oh my gosh, it's lagging. It's okay. It's still going to work. So yes.
Oh, she had a question first.
Yes. Another question?
Yeah, when you're setting up the world, and the students are not the ones that are setting up their own kind of sandbox world.
Right.
How long do you keep your server open?
Only during class. Now, when we were in COVID and stuff, I hosted, it was actually a Mac Mini, but I hosted a server that I had an IP address to, because I had kids I even had some church friends' grandchildren that signed up, and so they were from different parts of the country. And so I could leave that open all the time. But for what we do, it's only during class. Now, another benefit of saving the world, we joke about this, you're going to save the world. I have the saved world. Well, if you didn't have time to make your recording or whatever, that's fine. You can just download it, do that on your computer. You've got everything you've built, but we don't have this live at all times currently. Okay. So how many of you use Canvas? Anybody using Canvas? Oh, well, let's get your question.
Okay. My question is how do you build it up for students? I didn't want to get too far from your question. Okay. How do you build it up for students who haven't been exposed? So do you go back to those early ages lessons in your class and then build them up, or how?
Here's a great segue. Let's take a look at my course. I have fully shared with you my entire Canvas course. How many of you are using Canvas? Okay, even if you're not using Canvas, I have publicly shared this under a Creative Commons link, so you can see the 4 units that we have. I have a unit here called Getting Started, Wonderlinks. These are my AI guidelines. We have some games. I have a slideshow I make my kids put up called Eyes on Dr. Fryer, because guess what? People can be all kinds of places on their screen. And in a fixed computer lab, we can't go lids down. So anyway, that's a very low-tech solution to say everyone must have the screensaver, because we don't have control software. I've been in other schools where I can push a button and I can blank everyone's screen or share my screen, and my school doesn't do that. So
we have Go Guardian, but when they're in Minecraft, we can't see their screens.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, this is a low tech. So you can click on any of these things. So low tech, but this is actually really big. I'll have times where I'll be like, okay, I need everyone to have Eyes on Dr. Fryer. And so everybody's screen has this, and I can quickly tell. And if they're, off task or whatever, just, okay, we're going to unplug their monitors sometimes. But it only takes doing that usually once or twice, and we're quicker at doing that. So anyway, the management of this, it can be challenging. Make no mistake about it. But those are just some of the beginning stuff. We start with Scratch and animation. We create a Scratch profile. We do an About Me project. I had to do a project called 5 Irritating Things. And so, how many of you have used Scratch? Oops. Okay. So this was the challenge. Create a Scratch project about 5 things that irritate you. Use these blocks at least once. Go to random position, repeat 10, think for 2 seconds, show, and hide. And then here's the rubric. You can access all of this for free just because this is how it's shared. And then they turned this link into me directly. Sometimes I'll have them share it, like I said, on a Padlet or other things. But that was what we started with Scratch. And then we built up to eventually the Mars Scratch animation. And then we did some game design, we created mazes, and then all of our Minecraft stuff is in this unit 4, where we started with basics, Minecraft controls, we made a robot farm, we brainstormed what buildings should we build, let's make a terrarium or a habitat that's enclosed by a dome. We did speed builds, we built with a partner, we had that little quiz where they had to build their habitat independently without looking at somebody else's code, and then they built their landing pad. So all of that is my finished class, You can download by clicking that link in the slides, the zip file. Absolutely. And remember, all of this, you can get to these slides and everything. Just go into wfryer.me/Mars. So the slideshow and all this. So you could import this entire course and just change this. When you import a course into Canvas, it hides everything, all the modules, and then you can choose if you want to edit and change them or if you want to make them activated. So I've already shown you some of the Mars landing pad. Let's do the Scratch animation. So I'm going to click on this link. This is the actual assignment. I have grown to sort of like this 3-part lesson design. So I have the goals, and do my kids always read this? No, they don't. But let me tell you, when you copy and paste this into ChatGPT and say, can you create a rubric for me? And I want you to do these 3 things or whatever. Anyway, I do this for myself, but I also encourage them to read this. And sometimes, my wife is taking the lead, we'll read it aloud in class. So here's the few goals we want to do. This was importing an animated GIF, using a loop to change the size, animating several sprites. I said, this is not science fiction, okay? No aliens. But I do want you to feel free to be whimsical and silly and have fun with animation elements. Be sure the process and equipment you're showing maps to actual NASA plans, okay? So step 1, review the 7 phases of the Mars Artemis mission. So pre-launch activities, I created these visualizations actually all with AI, all with ChatGPT. Gateway docking and refueling. Transit, going from lunar orbit to Mars. Re-entering the Martian atmosphere. Landing on Mars. Exploring the surface. Wow. So we reviewed that in class. Okay. We brainstormed. Okay. Then we had a draft. What do you want to build? Okay. And so we brainstormed the following things. And then we visualized those, and then they drafted. So some of them did phase 1, phase 2, re-entry, landing, all these different things. Use Scratch, create an animation, and then this is what you can take a look at. This is the link to the Padlet. In class, during the semester, anybody could post to this. I require them to log in, so it's not anonymous. Right now, it's locked. I'm not logged into this, and you're not either, but you can still see any of these. So if I click here on Ava's project, this is the screen recording of the gateway docking and refueling, and she coded this in Scratch that she made. Again, this is the end of the year, so we've built up to this, and we've done, small projects and learned how to, animate things, get little pop-ups to show. So good. All right, and that's, 21 seconds. But now we click over here in the description and we go to her actual Scratch profile. Now, Scratch does not want students to use their full name for their user ID. So if I hadn't said Ava, you would not know that this user is Ava, right? And we talk about being safe. We can give feedback. We click See Inside. Here's her code. This is the code that she wrote for the Earth, okay? When it starts, it shows the Earth. The Earth moves back 1 layer, and it goes to a specific XY coordinate. In Scratch, the center is the origin. It's 0, 0. It's laid out just like the geometric. It's one of the things I love about using this, because you can do this with like 1st and 2nd graders, and they don't even know it, but they start doing negative integers and things that involve like stuff that would be saved for later. And you're like, isn't that cool? So you're using math with a real purpose. Here's the code that she has for the rocket. She uses a thing called a broadcast. So somewhere else in her program, it says refueled. And so when it's refueled, this particular rocket shows itself, goes to this location, and 10 times it waits, it gives the next costume, it moves 10 steps. Okay? And then these are the costumes. And I think she drew these, so you can see that she's got the animation going there. There's the rocket. I mean, it's simple, but it's so cool and empowering for kids to be able to do this. And there is a balance I've found between describing what you want kids to do in so much detail that they just copy what you say and there's no divergent thinking at all. And then also being so open-ended and vague that half your class is like, I don't know what to do, Dr. Fryer, you know. And so I think it can be helpful to show them examples, but at the same time, I would caution you that part of what we need are innovative thinkers and creative thinkers, right? And so in order to do that, I don't believe we get there if you just copy me. Now we can still learn a lot copying each other. That's how we learned the alphabet in first grade, right? Nobody said, hey, invent your own. We said, no, this is the letter A, copy the letter A. And I use that language with my kids talking about code. Because in many cases, it is fine with me for you to look at that code and copy that code and learn that code. But I don't want you to just be in that mode the whole time, because I want you to be creative and come up with stuff I didn't think about. And neither did your friend or your partner or anybody else, okay? So we already watched that video. That was the landing on Mars. This was just 6 minutes of basically a screen capture, showing some of those robots in action. If you use this assessment, and I'd love to, I'll talk about, I'd love to partner. We end at 12:25. Can somebody check the schedule? Or 12:35? We have 9 minutes. Is that right? 12:35. Okay, we have 9 minutes. I would love to partner with anybody else doing this kind of a project. It'd be so fun to connect our students together. Like we could literally have my kids do the habitats and you do the landing pads outside or whatever. It's just so open-ended. I don't think in our high-stakes testing-dominated environment today, we are connecting our kids to other kids and to other classes nearly as much as we should. I'm so inspired when I come to events like this. And one of my thoughts is always, we've got to figure out collaboration and governance, right? Because if we can't figure that out, then the planet's in trouble. So, already shown you examples. Here's one. This is Olivia's talk. She's going to talk about it. This is her screencast code talk about her terrarium. So she doesn't just show it, she talks about it. We won't play the whole thing.
17. My name is Olivia and I will be showing you my glass terrarium build. This is my code. So when I type glass in the chat, my agent will build a sphere of glass and then fill it in with a circle of dirt. After it does that, and then it will start farming in the build.
So the terrarium's like we're growing food in this glass dome, basically. So she's give the chat command.
I will type glass, and my agent will start building a glass terrarium.
Now, of course, we don't have time in class, for every kid's screencast to be shown. In my dream world, at our parent-teacher conferences, we would get to kids would show this, they would talk about this. It's really hard to get parents to see student work and to see digital work. But if a kid is on fire with excitement for something, it's hard to ignore them. And it's definitely happened that kids get set on fire with excitement in a very good way for coding and, for space and for these things. And I think creating these kinds of artifacts of learning is really powerful. And it's something that I've found to be really good. So that's the code share plus screencast. Foundational skills, I showed you this in Canvas. I really think animation, even if are any of you gamers, you love to game? I'm not a real big gamer, okay? I'm actually not. But how important could it be or valuable could it be to animate a concept? We could do that in every class, right? That's what my son does professionally for NASA. He leads the magic team, and you can Google Alexander Fryer NASA animation and see, these animations of where the robotic arm moves the cargo when the uncrewed SpaceX missions go up, like tomorrow. Anyway. He had to teach himself Unity when he joined Booz Allen Hamilton and went to work for them. I have my kids in web design web pages, for different concepts. I think animation is a great thing to teach kids. The maze game, easy to do. We did multi-level games. Kids are very creative with this. We have a tournament. They play each other's mazes head to head. These were some of the animations. You already saw some of these. You already saw some of these in the little preview. We have assemblies periodically, and so in the fall, we were able to show this video. And let me tell you, I think it's wonderful to celebrate kids for all their achievements, but we have a ton of sports celebration. I love celebrating coding and getting your geek on. And that was so cool to see my kids sitting there in the auditorium with every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader at school, and their animation of the moon landing is being shown and applauded by the whole school. That is very, very cool. And so I hope to be able to do more of that. We use AI to visualize our habitats. We brainstorm. We use AI as our co-partner in brainstorming and then visualizing. I've got those shared. We've got more about those terrariums and greenhouses that we built. You saw this in the video where I was drawing out our structure. We were thinking we would have a huge dome over everything and not just these small domes. We had coordinates. We had to decide what to build. Coordinates in Minecraft are a little bit different because east and west are X and Z and vertical is Y. And so in order to get to that, I used ChatGPT. And I said, hey, I need your help because I'm going to use Minecraft and we're going to use coordinates. And here's a little file that shows where our structures are. Give me 12 build areas that are outside the region. Boom, there they are. And that's what I assigned to the kids. This is really cool. Could I do that with my own little mind? Yeah, but I'm kind of a busy person as a middle school teacher. And so you have to check this. Does it hallucinate? Does it get things wrong? Yes, but I had some really good success using ChatGPT. Actually, I also use Claude to do this, which is another AI tool. And so anyway, just thinking about the partnership, myself as a teacher, my kids too as coders, AI is a huge thing, and it's going to play a huge role in coding. Yes, sir?
I was just going to say, Microsoft in the next couple of months is actually bringing out a teacher classroom things that can actually control all that without having to go through ChatGPT as well. Well, in Australia they are.
Okay, yeah, there's a classroom module that I run so that I can see all the kids, I can teleport them all to myself, I can freeze everybody, and I'm excited to see how they'll continue developing it. But this was for the instructions for my class. We had built our habitats, and I wanted to see landing zones around. Okay, so real quick about future ideas. I would love to collaborate with you, okay? If you teach middle school or any other level, I mean, you can modify this up or down. This is so fun. It's so engaging, and it'd be so neat for the kids to connect in multiple different ways. That doesn't mean we'll have to do a live Zoom. You know, you and I as teachers can connect, or there's a lot of ways that those kinds of projects can happen. We could share our worlds. What have you built? What have you created? What are we going to make on Mars, by the way? Okay, we brainstorm, sort of like a base, right? A military base. You got to have perimeter security, and you got to have water, you got to have food, you got to sleep places. But what are the structures we're going to do? And then how are you going to mine? I had a kid use redstone to make and we made a structure block from it, which I didn't even know what that was. The robots went out and mined, brought back resources and dropped them, and then automatically sorted into chests so they'd all be separate. And he created that. Wouldn't that be fun to have some of your most geeky, skilled, powerful Minecrafters, sharing some of their ideas and tools?
How are your classes structured? Like, do they have an hour a day? Do you guys do block schedules?
We have a block schedule. It's a 5-day rotating, and I have 55-minute classes. So I'll see my kids 4 out of 6. Is it 5 days, 6 days? I think it's a 6-day rotating schedule, A through F. So it's like 4 out of 6 days.
Okay.
I see them. How are you going to learn this? Minecraft has a ton of tutorials. Do you have to know how to do all of these things? No, you don't. I definitely think it's good to play with them, but there's a lot of good tutorials. I'd like my kids to make these tutorials. In fact, Ari made a tutorial about that structure block thing, and I need to make sure that that gets shared. I think we have about 3 minutes. Would you like to ask a final question or two? Oh, my LinkedIn? Great question. Is that what you said or something else?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. So if you do westfryer.com/after, I've got all those Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff on that site. And
that seems like a great way to put like the Lego robotics stuff together with this, because it's the same pseudocode.
It is very similar. Oh, yes. The first year that I've only been at this school for 2 years. we're empty nesters. So we moved from Oklahoma City, where they're like having the hottest day of the year today, to North Carolina 2 years ago. And I was teaching robotics the first year with Spike Prime and all of that. And so, yes, because we could, again, physical, virtual, we can create part of this, and then we could have the robots moving around. Maybe I could collaborate with one of our teacher who's doing those robotics classes now for that. Yeah, there's a lot of different connections. And that kind of brainstorming and idea sharing would be so fun to do with other teachers that are interested in this, because there's just so many different possibilities, right? If I give you a whole box of Legos, what would you want to do with it? We're going to have a lot of different ideas, but if we're doing stuff around space, around Mars, we could also do the moon, because we're going to the moon first. Absolutely.
Well, some of the Lego stuff, so we have a nature-based program, so like our sciences for our STEAM are natural sciences, right? But you can program a lot of the Lego robotic stuff to take data.
Yes.
And this has got my mind running on how to kind of do the two things together.
Right.
Like show how we do this on Earth, and then have them think about why this would be.
And how can you break this down into parts and then visualize? Because that is so important. And in STEM and in science, I think the storytellers and the communicators are every bit as important as everybody else, the engineers and from a funding standpoint and everything else. How are we going to explain it? And so getting students to do that can be compelling. Well, it is 12:35. Thank you all so much for coming. Go forth and do great things with Minecraft. Yes, do it.